Understanding that you welcome this step, what about what we've seen on the streets of Kabul and other places, the lashings, the beatings of people, to say nothing of the appointment of an all-male, non-inclusive cabinet with these two Haqqani members with bounties on their head from this State Department?
Well, and so Andrea, as I said before, we are not going to make sweeping categorical judgments just yet. We have spoken about our reaction to the initial caretaker government. You have heard us say that the lack of inclusivity, the track records, the backgrounds of some of the individuals involved is a cause for concern. It certainly does not reflect what the international community and what, as a part of that, the United States hoped to see. Now, we note this is an initial caretaker government. We note that some of these positions remain unfulfilled. So what will be important to us is not only the composition of any future government of Afghanistan. Again, we will look to see to it that it is inclusive, to see to it that it is representative of the people that the Taliban purport to represent. But we'll also look towards their actions. And that was another constant refrain yesterday when we gathered many of our closest allies and partners in Ramstein. There were several elements of consensus that emerged. And in fact, there were key questions that many of the participants posed. Will the Taliban uphold their commitments to freedom of travel and safe passage in the case of the United States for Americans, but also for third country nationals, for our Afghan partners? Will they live up to their counterterrorism commitments? There was a broad discussion of the threat from ISIS-K, from Al-Qaeda, from terrorist groups that may seek to operate or that are operating on Afghan soil. Will they form an inclusive government? That will be a key question that we'll look to see as the future Afghan government comes together. And will they sustain progress for women and girls? In other words, will the gains of the past 20 years that no country did more to facilitate and support than the United States, will those gains be preserved? We don't yet know the answer to any of those questions. We will together be able to answer those questions with our allies and partners as we start to see how the Taliban is going to purport to govern, how it will treat its people, how it will treat our people, how it will confront threats not only to the Taliban, but threats to us as well, and that includes from ISIS-K.
And let me just ask a follow-up about the people at Mazar Sharif and elsewhere. Understanding the need for travel documents, but so many people don't have them. And isn't this a catch-22 for Americans as well as at-risk Afghans, some of which may have documentation we don't know that was burned up in the evacuation of the embassy?
Well, we are continuing, and we have been in close dialogue with the Taliban, but even closer dialogue with our partners on this very question. And when I say partners, I'm using that expansively. We have found and have very much appreciated the efforts of NGOs, of advocates, of lawmakers, and others who have helped to organize groups of individuals, charters, manifests, and people in this building have been working with those individuals, entities, and groups literally around the clock at the highest levels of this building and the U.S. government. We share a single goal, and that is bringing and facilitating the departure from Afghanistan of as many of these individuals to whom we have a special obligation. And with our careful review of many of these manifests and our close partnership with many of these entities, organizations, and individuals, we have been able to confirm, at least to the best of our ability, not having personnel on the ground, that there are American citizens, that there are LPRs, there are other at-risk Afghans to whom we do have that commitment, who are willing and ready to go on one of these charter flights. And our contention continues to be that these individuals should be allowed to go. We have made that known very publicly. You've heard the Secretary speak to it at some length, both in Doha and in Germany yesterday and the day before. But we've also made this known privately, and we have engaged with the Taliban, both Ambassador Khalilzad and with the team that Ian McCary is leading out of Doha on this very question. Now, the question about travel documents. Look, we have been clear that American citizens, that LPRs, and Afghans who may be at risk, and Afghans to whom we do have that special obligation, should be allowed to travel. There have been certain instances where we have been able to, for Afghan SIV recipients traveling to the United States, we have collaborated, for example, with the Department of Homeland Security to provide electronic proof of recent visa issuance. I would say more broadly that we are considering and we are developing additional processing alternatives so that we can continue to deliver important consular services, including to these American citizens, these LPRs, these Afghans at risk. But just as we welcome the departure of this charter from HKIA today, we will continue to hold the Taliban accountable for the commitment it has made, including in the context of these individuals who are ready, willing, and able to depart Afghanistan now and in the coming days. Roz.